you're taking a look at what the Packers are in need of, and let's keep in mind that they've lost Lazard. Cobb is still a free agent, so a couple, and then throw in Tanyan's gone. So those are some receivers that are not there offensively as we start with the offense. I actually think the offensive line is okay. I think it's pretty set. I don't think there's any major holes. Could they get better here or there? Could they find a young replacement for Bakhtiari? Sure. So there are some things they could do, but no glaring needs. But they definitely need a number one tight end, unless they believe DeGuara could be that guy. I don't, but maybe they do. I doubt it. This is, as we said, great tight end draft, so maybe they get a tight end at some point. They have very good young receivers. I really like the youth and the talent all last year. With Watson, Dubs, and Watson we know about. But even Teray and Melton are a couple of guys to keep an eye on. So I think they definitely go after another receiver in the draft, and they probably should go after a veteran receiver at some point. They need a veteran on this unit. But other than that, offensively, maybe you keep an eye on A.J. Dillon's contract for next season. And maybe get ahead of the game by adding another running back to the mix. If I'm looking at offensively for the Green Bay Packers, I'm probably saying the number one need, tight end.
Yeah, that's the number one need on the team. Robert Tonyan, he flashed in 2021. You thought he was going to be the next big thing. You thought he was going to be him and Rodgers had that connection. He tore his ACL. Just did not come back the way that a lot of them were hoping. The ageless Mercedes Lewis is a free agent. They loved him, but at some point the guy's going to have to hang him up. He was essentially a blocker only that would every now and then get a red zone target. They're going to rely on DeGuara and Tyler Davis to carry this position. I think those guys can be a great secondary option.
2 and 3.
I think they need a wide tight end. They need a guy that can put his hand in the dirt. DeGuara can't block. Tyler Davis has 8 career catches. So let them be the backup.
So would Washington be a really good fit here then?
Darnell Washington, I think, if there is a comparison, which he's a very hard guy to create a comparison for, it is Mercedes Lewis. And they loved what he brought to the table as a blocker. And I think Darnell Washington, he is the caliber of a blocker of an offensive lineman.
Yes.
I would make the argument that he's a better run blocker than some of the tackles in this draft. And so I think this is as high as I could see him going. This would be, to some, would be considered a reach. And it might be.
In this draft, I think once you get past like the first 4 or 5 players, I don't think anybody's a reach.
Yeah, a lot of these guys should be grouped together. And, you answer this for me. Is this, if they took a Darnell Washington at this point in the draft, is that really drafting for need rather than value? Because there's a good shot there will be some better players available.
Yeah, I could see that. And when we take a look at defense, this is where you could definitely see them going first. I don't really know if they believe in T.J. Slayton as the long-term answer at nose tackle. Devontae Wyatt was a nice pickup last year, so I think he's just going to keep getting better. So I think they're in good shape with Clark and Wyatt, but they need at least another really significant upgrade up front. And then you take a look at the secondary. This is definitely a concern. Stokes has not worked out. Nickelback, that is now a complete need, no question about it. No way is Nixon who's penciled in right now. He's not going to be the guy. And I doubt they're going to rely on the 5th round draft pick either from last year. They signed Tavares Moore from San Francisco at safety, but he's not going to be the guy unless there's something about him that they like that they feel like San Francisco wasn't getting the best of. So I could look at nickelback. I could look at outside corner. They still haven't re-signed Amos, so I could look at a safety. So I think on defense, that's where I would go. I would go, who's the best defensive back? And maybe it's the kid from Alabama, because he could play a variety of positions. Because at nose tackle, you could always draft one of those guys later.
Yeah, I don't even think there's an interior defensive lineman that even comes close to meeting the grade at this point in the draft. So no matter what, I do think they lost a few bodies this year off that defensive line, and Dean Lowry, Jerron Reed, and just adding a couple pieces at some point in the draft will be necessary. But there's no one that meets that first round grade. And Brian Branch is, everything that you were saying that the Packers might need in the secondary, he can fill all those spots. And his best role would probably be nickel or safety at the next level. But even Darnell Savage, you're not sure about him anymore either.
Good point.
The secondary is just loaded with question marks. And, instead of trying to find the perfect fit for which position you want the most, you might just want to bring in the best football player. Similar to what the Dolphins did way back with Minka Fitzpatrick. You bring him in and from the same program, actually a similar role as well, and say, hey, let's try him out at a few different spots. We will eventually find, and we'll build around him a little bit, and we'll find the perfect spot for him, or he's so good that you can fill the other spots in after you get him, and he can move around year to year.
I know mock drafts, by the way, I was just checking those out, and we did have them taking corners in both of them, and that's because Brance was not available in either of the mock drafts that I can see. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be corner or tight end. I believe when it comes to the value of who's going to be there at that point and what this team is really looking for right now, it's going to be one of those two spots with their first pick.
All right.